Joining me now from Baltimore, Maryland, senior editor for Conservative Review, Daniel Horowitz. Daniel, this is kind of immigration whack-a-mole that we are playing right now, unfortunately. Here we have Congress holding hearings like this, and the border agents come out, and the ICE agents, they come out and say, we've never seen anything like it. We're overwhelmed. We can't handle this amount of humanity attacking our sovereign border. We get a lot of good sound from these members of Congress, but they do nothing about it. But waiting in the wings, somewhere out there is a judge that even if they did do something about it, probably would attack it because, again, the Congress refuses to do its job and rein in these rogue judges.
Graham, as you noted, everyone is missing the point on this. This is not about a lack of infrastructure, a lack of resources. That would always help. And it's not even about a lack of laws. It's about lower court judges, particularly in California and a couple other places, ruling our entire foreign policy, our entire border, and our sovereignty. Our laws were written explicitly to prevent an outcome like this. Our laws make it very clear you cannot grant asylum unless they have an individualized persecution, which applies to none of these people. Our laws make it clear that they must be detained throughout the entire process. Our laws make it clear that they have no more than 7 days of appeals, even if we want to offer that process. And most important, our laws make it clear that the president, if he determines this entire scheme is not working at a given time, could shut it all down. At every stage, a random forum shopped lower court violated rules of standing, 200 years of Supreme Court precedent, justiciability, statutes, and they put on a universal injunction, which, as you noted, is in itself illegal. Graham, if we're going to agree that that's the law, there is not a single new law we could write that will ever get around that game of whack-a-mole.
And how bad is it? When you look at the entire immigration picture, not just illegal immigration, but quasi-legal immigration, I mean quasi, I'm talking about DACA, how bad is it? Well, you went to an unlikely, I would consider kind of an unlikely source, and that is the state of California, and I believe the Attorney General's office of the state of California, and it has the DACA numbers. And the DACA numbers were, prior to last year, were in the hundreds and low thousands range. Suddenly, that number explodes to more than 355,000 DACA recipients in just 1 year. I believe it's a fiscal year. It doesn't matter. The point is the number explodes, and the explanation is the same, isn't it, Daniel? An activist judge.
Never in our history have we had something like that. Imagine a judge saying a president must continue a policy of a prior administration, let's just say raiding Social Security, or unilaterally cutting taxes. This is even worse. Unilaterally granting work permits, Social Security cards, and refundable tax credits to people who, pursuant to law, must be deported. According to the Library of Congress, even King George in the 1700s couldn't unilaterally make such a move, make denizens of aliens, so to speak, without the ruling of Parliament. And in this case, a single judge says what law says the president must not do, says he must do. This was a strategic mistake on the part of this administration. That was the one order they should have put their foot down and said, I must follow the law. I cannot give American money and taxpayer funding to people who must be deported.
So, Daniel, what do we do? Honestly, you wrote a book about it. We've been screaming to Congress that this is their Article 1 duty to fix the lower courts. If you read the Constitution, the only mention of the courts is the Supreme Court. The inferior courts are a function of the Article 1 branch, the Congress of the United States. They're not doing their job. They're not reining in these rogue judges. It leaves us not much to deal with here, right? I mean, what do we do as Americans? What do you do as the President of the United States? I've suggested on this program it's time to say no to the judges. There was a big hullabaloo about the President saying, don't follow these judges' rulings. Well, in a way, he's right. There's a point where we're going to have to push back and say, hey, somebody's going to have to rein in these lower courts.
We've long reached that point. We passed that point. The courts are shutting down 30 things the president has done that merely countermand Obama's discretionary and often unlawful policies. He has no choice. Now, there's a proper way of articulating that. If I were him, I would say, look, these judges are disobeying their own branch's precedent. I would have the Attorney General, William Barr, every time a court issues one of these rulings, call for a press conference, go through the relevant case law and statute, and explain why this is nakedly an abuse of power.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.